Welcome to Stormwatch by Grey Noise Intelligence. Each episode, we cover the latest info on what's happening at Grey Noise, Census, Voncheck, and Run Zero. Yeah, I got them all. Take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, toss out some expert opinions, and drop the occasional conspiracy theory. Today, we have to tell you that all exploit scoring systems are bad, but some are useful. And we are going to separate the CVSS clouds from the real threats. No umbrella required yet. And there's some a cool drop from Census, so we're going to focus on this one for the second part. TikTok's latest trend is malware. Who would have figured? So watch out for viral quick fixes that rain down more than just likes. Learn how to keep your digital skies clear. Of course, we're going to cover the latest from each of our benevolent overlords. And before I do the normal intro to everybody here, I got a couple things I want to do first. I want to put this up on the stage. But I forgot the keystroke already when I used my mouse. So this peanut gallery that you're all seeing, and if you're not, you actually are going to need to view this episode. If you're not actually viewing it and just listening to it, you need to view it. This peanut gallery, minus the incredible Overwatch, whose picture does need to be on here, but she'll never do that. That's fine. Then she'll hurt me, so I can't actually make her do it. This is amazing because today, I go to my browser. Today is our second anniversary of Stormwatch.
The terrible twos. We made it.
Right.
Yeah. And so I want to let you all know that since I value you as fellow anniversary celebrators,
Oh no.
I have bequeathed to all of you your very own cotton patch, since that is the second anniversary. Cotton is the second anniversary. So you are now proud owners of some cotton patches in the South.
See, I figured that's why y'all are wearing the hats, because they're cotton. Unfortunately, I'm left hatless. I'm across the ocean right now from
yes.
home.
We have, and since
Actually, that
it
means
has,
you should have a really epic hat, Todd.
Yeah, you probably should. Yeah, you probably should. And Himija had, as usual, an epic idea the other day. So welcome to all 90 some episodes of Stormwatch in a montage here. And some of them ended up being like the individual clips that Jordan does. So it's not perfect, but hey, like those we're not either. So that works pretty good. It's been a cool journey. I'm gonna ask some questions in a minute to everybody out there.
Did you say 96?
90. Today's our 97th episode.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not slackers. We're on the job. We get things done.
Not yet.
No, we'll see. So I'm going to ask a very specific vibe check that I believe I have prepared everybody but Todd for. So Todd, you can make your vibe check whatever you want. You are. We talked about this in the green room. Oh, Glenn is so fired. Himija, what is your favorite Stormwatch episode?
Mine is going to be a cheap answer, which is my favorite episode was the first one I ever was on, which I believe was about the Move It fiasco of yesteryear. And I came on, I think, with Emily to talk about that. I was so nervous for it and realized that this is an extremely, extremely serious podcast. And so I had absolutely everything to be worried for. But no,
this is the best teens meeting you're ever going to be part of. Okay.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah. This is group therapy for security people every week. But yeah, I have fond memories of that and fond memories of kind of just realizing that we can have conversations like this and it's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Glenn, what do you have because I know you're kind of in a mood these days. Do you actually have a favorite of anything, including a Stormwatch episode? Or
yeah, I think what comes to mind is we did one where we had, I think it was like on Halloween proper, so we had some costumage going. I was Ted Lasso, Emily was Louise. You were
Invisible Man.
Oh yeah, that's
Invisible
right.
Man.
Yeah, you were Invisible Man with the green screen. Yeah. Hamish, I don't think you were on yet, were you?
Maybe not.
It was
That does not ring a
early on,
bell.
Yeah.
Of
Anyway,
course, I've
that's
watched the
fine.
entire backlog.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. All
Our back
96
catalog
episodes.
is a lot less than like Knowledge Fight's back catalog. It's pretty quick to go through. It's not hard.
Yeah. It's true.
Odd. I mean, so I sprung this on you. Do you have a favorite episode? Oh, you do. All right, cool.
You know what I do? My favorite episode was, I'm gonna say it's around episode 12 or 13 when I got unmasked as the commenter. Because at the time, you guys were like really digging into this as a Kev pretty hard and being mean, and I'm like, now wait a minute. And I had an alias and everything because
someone is wrong on the internet. I can't go to sleep.
and I wasn't, there was before I was allowed to like do things, not allowed, but like I didn't have authorization to speak on behalf of anybody, right? So but I could type my little psychic comments. And so that was a fun time. That opened up a whole new world for me. And then I was on the show every week.
And now you still don't have authorization, but
I still don't have any authorization, but also they're not going to stop me.
I'm just glad to see that this administration carried out the level-headed, even policies of not letting everyone just go off anywhere on any kind of social media or news platform saying bullshit. I'm just glad. I'm glad they kept that done good. That's great.
Yeah, well,
Overwatch, you have a favorite episode? Mention that I don't think I've missed an episode. Just saying, I think my favorite era is when. Oh man, now Glenn's gonna yell at me. Dang it, because like that is my favorite. When Emily's voice became part of this podcast, it was like, wait a minute, we got a thing here. This is special. She was brilliant. She is brilliant. Emily, you're brilliant. And I thought that was like, ooh, wait, we got something we could do more. And then we got Kimber coming from Lone Check, and then we expanded also to like Himija and Ariana. We remember because it's been done a couple times. We got Todd. This has been pretty cool. It's been wonderful.
Got a deep bench here at Stormwatch.
Though I will say second fave episode was the first episode Remy was on, because Remy's Remy, and that was a phenomenal episode. So
that was the Bluetooth botnet, right? Or no,
the Bluetooth
toothbrush.
The toothbrush.
The toothbrush. Yeah, the toothbrush gate. Yeah.
Classic.
Although I was not prepared, I will say I was not prepared whenever we did episode 1, because it was just Bob and I, and Bob had a bit planned. I was new to Grey Noise. I was very unsettled in every way, and we pop on, and Bob's wearing a raincoat. It's got a hurricane scene going on behind him. Like, oh, wrong Stormwatch.
Yeah. It was the first few episodes are not listenable to. Definitely not listenable to. It was pretty bad. Jordan came through for us yet again, because Jordan is also epic and amazing, and I'm going to share to stage. We have polls, because people like filling out polls apparently. Oh, that's right. We actually, like, she was gracious enough to do one about scoring systems. I can't imagine why. How useful is EPSS to your vulnerability prioritization? I still can't. I think that's Twitter. One signal out of many. I think that's Blue Sky. No, the first one's Blue Sky. The second one's Twitter. One signal out of many. Somewhat useful, not useful at all, tied. And wow, one signal of many for every single platform. One. Anybody surprised by the poll results?
I don't think too surprised. I mean, you give people an out so they can hedge, right? That's the hedge answer.
If we remove that answer, would people go towards the not useful at all? Is what I would predict.
I was more surprised.
Good.
I was more surprised at the folks that picked the top option, the most use, whatever. Like,
yeah, those people need help. Yeah, those people need absolute help.
They were leaning in a little too hard.
If I wasn't so tired, I would have actually made 13 more or 1,300 more accounts on Blue Sky and Mastodon and made my choice, which will become obvious as the show progresses, for folks that are out there. And I wanted to start off with, because we're talking about, this is kind of a nerdy topic, right? This is like in the weeds topic. It's not like, oh my gosh, the world's on fire topic or whatever. And the thing is, I wanted to sort of do a little bit of a history of scoring systems, briefly, very, very brief history. Now, you all know what these are because we've talked about them, but before we talked about them all, I want to know, I'm going to ask all of you if you knew what these were. So the one I won't do is CVSS is like the OG, like worthless metric that we have for security. And so let's start with that one though, because like you all have heard of CVSS, your viewpoint of the utility value of CVSS. I want to start with Glenn, because all I get from him anymore is CVEs. It's all he does is pay CVEs into Slack and then like feed me links and whatever about C. And I'm like, I kind of wish I wasn't in vulnerability stuff now. So Glenn, like, what about CVSS? Useful, not useful?
I feel like I probably should have gone last on this topic because I think I think it's more useful than most. Um, Mostly because it's a decent way to quickly look at the CVSS string and understand a bit about the vuln, like right off the top. And that
Explain a
is
little more.
useful.
Explain a little more. Explain a little more, please.
So in the string, it has attributes for the authentication, or like, does it require privileges? What kind of access or vector is it? Is it network or local? Um, and of course, over time, that CVS string has gone from like 5 to 7 to now we're pushing. I don't even know how many how many attributes with the latest temporal models.
4.0
Um,
has 12 as base.
12. Great,
Mhm. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So
Also
OG
known as Don't
CVSS,
worry about it.
I think, is just a good clean way, and I use it for prioritization for our tags as far as like, is this remotely exploitable? Does this require privileges? Does this have user interaction? And just right off the top, you can kind of sort very quickly.
All
So
right. So before you go, if I tell you, because I know you didn't read the notes. I don't know that, but I suspect you didn't read the notes. If I tell you only 2.3% of CVEs scored at CVSS 7 or above were actually observed in exploitation attempts, does that change your mind?
well, is the question, is it useful, or is the question, is it useful to predict exploitation?
Well, we're talking about exploit prediction systems today.
No.
So,
I'm just curious. As far as predicting exploitation, I think they're all trash.
oof, right out of the gate. All right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to someone who's got to have a more positive attitude about this one. Todd loves CVSS. He hugs it in. He's got a CVSS
I
pillow.
do. I want to have a million of its babies. And I'm going to name them all 7.8 because that is the only score that matters in CBSS. Um, there are several ways to get to
Local
7.8.
privileges
And they're both,
required for that.
yep.
Sorry.
And that's the only one that matters, right? Like, which is funny to me because like you get like tech news headlines when it's CBSS 10.0, I guess. You get tech news headlines when it's 9.8, and the only way to get 9.8 is to be bad on everything except for scope unchanged, right? That's the only way to get to 9.8. But rank and file CVSS score is 7.8 because that's like the good stuff. That's like no auth, remote, high and high on critical and or high and high on confidentiality and integrity. And I do so. Here's what I like about CVSS is that in CVSS 3.1, which is the only one anyone cares about, is there you have 8 questions about the vulnerability, and those 8 questions seem to have stood up for the 20 something years that CVSS has been around. Like CVSS 3 has only been around for like 13 years or something like that. But those seem to work nearly all the time for nearly all vulnerabilities, I'd say, except for the scope one. And the scope is weird. No one knows how to do scope. But other than that, like I'm with Glenn that you can like quickly bucket them, right? Like you can say like, oh, access required, physical. Okay, well, I don't care about
It's a
that.
CVE sorting hat.
Right, exactly. It's a CVE sorting hat. And you can say it's like, yes, this one's Hufflepuff. It requires physical access. And that's fine, right? Like that, but the number is useless. Because it's always going to be 7.8. And it's either, and so the number should be 0 or 1. And if it's above 7.8, it's 1. If it's below 7.8, it's 0. Done. Like that's your sort. And that's the only sort anyone uses anyway, like FedRAMP. This is how FedRAMP says it. Like they say like, oh, it has to be above 7 or something for it to be high. And what they really mean is like, it's really hard to get to 7.0. You can get to 7.2 and 7.5, but you can't get to like 7.3. I don't think it's possible to get to 7.3, which is the other problem I have with it is that it uses this decimal number. So you have 100 possible. You think you have 100 possibles, right? From 0.0 to 10.0, so 101 possibles. But you don't really, and they're not really numbers, they're just labels. So that's my big problem. You can't do math.
So I just want to dwell on that for 1 second. So that Todd just said some so folks that are listening to us after the fact who aren't live because they're already heard it, whatever.
For some reason, I care a lot about these scoring systems right now.
You do. But and like I think what you just said is important because a lot of folks treat CVSS scores as continuous variables, and they're not. They're categorical variables, 100% categorical. I prefer just like the summary of low, medium, high that you get with it versus the numbers as well too. So yeah. That's a utility thing that if people didn't know that before and you were thinking that way before, that's a great learning right there for anyone that is new watching this or share it with someone that's new doing vulnerability management. I want to jump to Himanja because you all like talk CVEs over at Census too. I've seen the CVE field that you have, so you care about CVEs, and I've seen your blog posts about things. So what is your, because you have a lot of hot takes about everything cyber because you're not from cyber originally, which is amazing because then you get to just like pick on everyone here and everybody about stuff because it's cyber forever. So what is your view of CVSS as a whole and specifically the score for prediction purposes?
I feel like Bob wanted this to be a CVSS like football tackle, but it's more like I think everybody has things they like and hate about it. It's the one that I use the most as a researcher because it is static, right? So when we're looking at like historical things and you want to do like apples to apples comparisons, CVSS is one of the ones out of all these things that we're considering that is the most like deterministic. Like if you're looking at the soup, you understand what ingredients went into the pot to make that soup. And like obviously just looking at the number, like we've mentioned, doesn't tell you much unless you know what's going on. And what I've also noticed is that it can lead to thinking that everything is bad because what CVSS doesn't tell you is like how bad is this overall. It tells you if everything lined up perfectly and this were to be exploited, how bad would the consequences be, which is a different question. And I think needs to be paired with like some other temporal dynamic data. But I think that that's not what it's built for. It's built to be this like deterministic thing that you can reverse engineer if you're looking at it and that it's static in time.
Yeah, it is very poor for any kind of real world correlation or like it doesn't acknowledge exploit availability or anything like that. So it definitely has the shortcoming. And I'm wondering if maybe because Bob, I think your question and what we answered is a little different because well, one, I was not thinking about exploitation. I was just thinking about the string. But I think we all kind of talked about the CVSS string and not the CVSS score for the most part, as far as like the string is useful, the score is just like whatever, like drop that field,
And
whatever.
documentation on CVSS says that I want to say must. There's a must in there. It's like whenever you're talking about CVSS scores, you should, or it should with feeling, include that vector string. For exactly that reason, right? Like, and they got like a lot more militant about that in the docs. And yet here we are. So like anytime I use it, I try to like always have the link to like the first calculator so you can see how I got there, all that.
Yeah.
Cool. That comment, I'm changing up but the order I was going to put some stuff in. So maybe we won't even talk about like some of the really horrible ones. So you mentioned lack of temporal and other things. So before the show notes and before discussion last week, how many of you all had heard about CVSS BT?
I have heard about CVSS base plus temporal.
Oh, it's not Bluetooth?
It's not Bluetooth. That's BTE.
Darn.
It's with energy.
I had my toothbrush.
BTLE, yeah. So for everyone out there, this is a very recent. So what, like a month-ish ago? No, well, I guess started 2 years ago, but it's been very active lately. This attempts to take into account the exploit code maturity and exploitability, and as a bunch of other things to augment the CVSS scores with that. And for folks that don't know about this one, there's the link is in the thing. It'll be in the show notes. And what I like about it is like the folks behind this are, of course, Patrick's part of it. Is because you can't talk about vulnerabilities in CVSS or any of the scores without Patrick being involved.
Without Patrick being summoned like a demon.
Yeah, actually, if we say scores one more time, he may actually just appear.
Yeah,
This is true. No, I believe they're
busting
at,
into
I
my
believe
hotel room here in London.
I believe Vonchek is actually at the company
Yes.
offsite. So if he does teleport in, they'll probably not be happy. You can grab a feed for the CVEs that have been enriched with this additional score. So just real quick, so since we spent a little bit more time on the CVSS than I thought we were going to do, adding this onto there, what are people's thoughts about this particular metric? Should orgs just abandon the CVE score metric and use the CVSS BT score?
So CVE doesn't really have a score metric. Like, it depends on something else, right? Like CVSS, and it's usually CVSS.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, nobody uses it is the problem, right? Like, and it also ruins, like, Image's favorite part of it is that it's static and it's fixed. Like, exploit maturity changes over time, and
Yeah.
the temporal environmental stuff is very local to you, right? Like, I can't talk about these CVSS scores in, like, maybe I don't have this library compiled into my application, so I'm never going to care about the environmental stuff, but maybe you do. And that way, now we have two different scores, and now we're not talking about the same thing anymore.
So I actually see that as a positive because I think it means that this still it like keeps the stuff that's customizable about CVSS, but then adds some more of that exploit intel. But to your point, like so if you're using that internally, I can see it being more useful than EPSS where
Sure.
you're like, how do I even
Yeah.
tune this? But if you're trying to like talk industry to anybody else, then you're not really sure what you're talking about.
I feel like with all of these, like as we go through, and I don't know how many we'll hit today, but we're just adding more noise. Like, and I'm not even trying to make a pun, but like
Yeah.
it's just like I think we're just trying to find ways to avoid doing the work. Like we measure it differently. We make the strings longer, we add in more variables because we're so desperate to prioritize what to fix instead of fixing things that I just kind of wonder at some point, like, what are we doing?
So your assertion is that there should be a systematic practice, maybe the part of the DNA of the IT component of any organization, that there will be patching happening when there are vulnerabilities of things that we run in our environment.
Just yeah, like just build it in. I say just. I shouldn't say just because I understand it's
Patching
extraordinarily
is hard.
difficult. Yeah, patching is extremely difficult. That's why it's the root of our existence. But um, yes, looking at it from a systemic as a systemic issue that needs to be like holistically solved with your processes and your chain of events for any kind of deployment or maintenance goes a lot further. I mean, because what we're doing with all of these systems is trying to figure out like there's so much to do that we need help to understand what to do first. And so we're just looking and begging for these ways to predict, but we're also using uh, these attributes to predict essentially, in a way, human behavior because it's like, what are humans going to pick to go after or exploit? And so there's always going to be a large disconnect between those
Avanti.
things.
No, no, it's Avanti.
Well, okay. Holistically, there'll be a disconnect. Maybe there's
But
some
that's
very
the thing. But
reliable
honestly, like,
examples.
that's the thing. It's like there is no scoring system today that says, "Is it in Avanti? Yes, no."
Yeah.
Because if
Oh yeah,
yes,
we
up
got
50
one.
points.
Oh
Yeah,
no, we
it's
have
true.
one. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so, like, that, and that's what it comes down to, is like we can't predict really like what the bad guys are going to go after,
Yeah.
except we kind of
It's
can.
human behavior. It's human
Right,
choices.
right.
I was gonna say this is the problem. This is the problem you're all trying to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna put up the one because this one, the one I'm gonna put up, the BT one uses, and the couple of the other ones that we're gonna mention really quickly also use. So it's like the bad boy of diction models. And so this is
Bad
EPSS
boy.
for
Where's a
folks that
cool
don't
leather
know that.
jacket?
I mean, it is what it is.
The
The
fawns
one
of
thing.
scoring.
So if folks want the citations for some of these quotes, because I actually have quotes from people that aren't us, because I wanted to have, like, I mean, I can tear every single one of these apart and like backwards and forwards, but I'm not doing that, as you can see, even though I threatened to do it. But one thing I did, so EPSS provide baseline prioritization for resource-constrained teams, but only when supplemented with asset criticality assessments and threat intelligence. And I have another one. This is from an MDR company. EPSS isn't a silver bullet. Scores often misalign with observed exploit trends, forcing teams to waste resources, re-triaging vulnerabilities. And there are a couple other ones out there, but like I just want to pick on those two particular ones, because if you need all this extra information, is this really, and like actually I want to just pick on Todd for most of this, because you just did like everyone should go watch Todd talk. Like we watched it live, well, live video live. um like it's wrong most of the time.
Well, it depends on your definition of right and wrong, much like any morality system. And I think that EPSS is like, I like the deltas in EPSS a lot. Like I like seeing the change, like the day to day, and maybe like the day to 3 day change seems pretty juicy. And if things move around a lot, like in that kind of short period, that's something that tells me it's like, oh, that's something to look at, right? Because something happened in there. It's necessary, and these scores are necessarily like backwards looking to predict exploitation activity in the next 30 days. Now, they often swallow the activity part. They say it'll predict exploitation activity, which is not the same as exploitation. It's not shells. It's not data exfil. But when you see a score jump, 20 or 30 points in like 1 to 3 days, those vulnerabilities have some kind of heat on them from something, right? I can't tell you exactly what, because the EPSS machine is pretty opaque. But I can tell you that like those jumps makes it a real easy sort for me to say like, that's one to look at. And then I'll look, and invariably it's usually because like I can see effects of that. I can see other people talking about it on the social medias. I can see like maybe it just popped up on the, like get added to the Kev, the next day you jump up 50 points. Does that mean it's just a Kev indicator? No, there are other things in there. But Kev is a pretty good indicator that the
Say,
score.
are there really? Are there?
I mean, Kev is
Are we-
also kind of too late, right? Even if you're looking at like the Vulncheck Kev, or this is either
All
one.
of these are reactive. Let's be clear.
It's
They're
all
all
reactive.
reactive.
Right. And so, but I think that there are some sneaky ones that looked kind of neat, and I only knew about them because the APSS score recently jumped up. So I get those. Those are fun.
How many do we think everyone realizes that when they read a vuln, so like thing drops today, or CVE drops today, and then there's the EPSS score added tonight or whatever. In the morning, you look and you see like 0.1% EPSS score. Do you think that a majority of folks understand that that is a moment in time measurement and not oh, chuck it in this bucket because it's just not going to be exploited? Because I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Well, I mean, it depends, right? But like, I think a lot of places
there's
that are
nuance.
publishing EPSS scores, they'll just publish it and they don't say
Yeah.
a date or anything. And those are the ones I suspect to think like, oh, you think it's just that, like CVSS, right? And it's not. They move around. They all move
Either a
around.
dated field or a dynamic field is how it has to live.
Yeah.
All right. So before we talked about doing this show, and before we talked about some of these things, how many of you knew about Vetus? I think it's pronounced Vetus. I have no idea. I also want to say I love the ARP Syndicate folks for just keeping the internet like it was 1998. I love it. It's the best.
Nope.
So for folks that know what they do, so the Vetus score, it combines 50 sources of vulnerability and exploit data. They focus a lot on like available exploits. And again, to Todd's thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually working completely, but exploits being developed for it. Hopefully they're avoiding all of the GitHub spam exploits that happen every single time now, which is really annoying. It's a proprietary clustering algorithm. They group vulnerabilities that are likely to be the same or closely related, even if they are different identifiers or descriptions across databases. So it's kind of technology centric there. They do proprietary weighting. They use reference counting for exploits. There is a temporal factor for frequency of exploit activity, so they're doing some monitoring of some things on the boards. And they do some correlation out there. Thoughts about this one? Because this is that people do use this one. The data is available. Like every single one of these, the data is available. These are like there may be proprietary algorithms, but you're all out there that listen and do this. You can completely go and grab this and make it part of your environment if you are insane. So curious about Vetus. Like does the proprietary hidden nature of it, which is even more opaque than the one Todd just mentioned, does that invalidate? Does it worry you, or is like, oh, they actually use exploit data, so we should probably use this one? Imogen, how about you?
This seems to me like something people with a lot of free time would use. Like someone who's like, wow, I'm so curious and excited about about vulnerabilities. Let me see what's out there. I'm only half joking, but I think that just like the opaqueness of it, again, it's like how many people are realistically like, wow, this one Ivanti vul, I'm so glad we patched that. What else is out there?
Yeah, I think I mean it's a bit more comprehensive, but it's I only know of it because it's come across like when we're researching, but I've not seen it I've not seen it productized, um, in a way where it appears in line with other scoring metrics for you to kind of get a feel for. So like, I don't actually have a gut, like a feel for how accurate or how much it seems to be useful in my day to day because it's just not there. And I mean, that's probably an oversight, but um, it is a bit more comprehensive, at least at, at first peek.
Cool. Todd?
So hang on. Yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I've never heard of this before. It looks kind of neat. When you generate an advisory, is it just like generating on the fly with LLM? It looks like it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's actually
kind of
it's
cool,
using its
actually.
own thing. Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, here's an exploit, sort of, that may or may not work.
Definitely good for researchers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
The last one
if it works.
The last one I want to just throw out there, because we could talk about coalitions, but it falls into the same proprietary category. Like like Tiego's great, love you Tiago if you're listening. But it's proprietary. Like you can't validate like concerns from it, and it's primarily intended for people that use coalition, that's totally fine. They've got their own thing. It works in their platform. That's great, but I'm not sure. Like I'm not seeing a lot of usage of their ESS scoring system outside of there, even though you can, like Tiago still hasn't put any kind of throttling on their hidden API, so you can just steal the scores all you want to from there if you guys want to out there. The last one, we briefly talked about this last week, and this is the Lev and the Lev 2. The one thing I wanted to just throw out there about this one is like I really appreciated this quote, and I'm trying to find it. And so a couple of them. Lev accuracy hinges on EPSS model improvements, but no public exploitation data sets exist to measure performance. So basically this is like it faces skepticism for its mathematical idealism. So basically, to Image's thing, this is if the people making the scores, like the Lev and Lev 2 score system, had a lot of time on their hands, and I guess if you use it, you're also gonna like be one of those that have a lot of time on your hands. There's one positive I mean, okay, I can't believe I'm actually saying this positive comment is that, hey, like for compliance driven environments, Lev is probably perfect. So if all you are is a checkbox security guard, there you go, just use Lev. Lev lists with 20% probability thresholds reduced remediation workloads while capturing high risk candidates. That's useful for audit purposes. So this seems to be like the auditor's friend between Lev and Lev 2. I have not actually tried to run the computations because you can. You can run, like, at least it's reproducible. I love that about the both Lev things. It does take like about an hour every morning to like from what I read from there, and I can just seeing what it does and what it has to go through. Like you're going to churn through a bunch of things in an hour. That's an hour you're not doing something with that information out there. So I don't know if anyone had any more time to read through this one on there, but so we're not going to talk about it because we talked about it last week. But what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, that's like 7 scoring system to tell us about the future that no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all of the humans that work diligently and hard on all of those things to try to hopefully you did it to try to make other people's lives easier. You did it, you didn't. It didn't work.
I wish I
Like
could play. I wish I could play sound effects because we need the DJ Khaled like and another one drop right now because it's just and yet another one. And again, we're just avoiding doing the work. We're just adding more noise, or we're trying to cut through the noise, but we're also creating more. Like we're spinning our wheels, but none of these are greatly improving posture because most of them anyway don't account for what's actually in a business. And where EPSS tries to do that a bit, or the temporal, I mean, um,
Mhm.
that gets really a lot of overhead, a lot of work.
uh,
So people don't
okay,
do it.
so you all get one sentence wrong because I want to give him a time to talk about TikTok. I can't. Okay, Kurt, there's a sentence I never thought I would say in my podcast. Um, one sentence advice to orgs. One sentence. Go, Imogen.
Know what's important to you. Don't follow the hype.
Awesome, Glenn.
Uh, what Hemant just said, and an add-on, know where those things are.
Ooh, all right, Todd.
Make friends that you trust to make these kinds of calls and confer with those friends all of the time to find out how important a particular vulnerability is.
It's not
I saw.
subtweeting for friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Friends
do
being
one.
trust groups or
Yeah.
trusted consultants that you pay, whatever. They can still be your friends. But that's for me, that's what it comes down to. Like these scoring systems and rating systems and priority systems they all have little bits in them that are all useful, but when it comes down, like you still need a human in the loop, ideally several humans that can agree. It's like, oh, this one's bad. Better get on this one. Gray Noise will definitely be your friend. Hey, Run Zero will be your friend too.
Yeah, they will. Run Zero is a great place for that. I'm gonna say I'm gonna shill, like use gray noise as my first answer sentence. The second I have to do that because that way Overwatch won't hit me. And then abandon all hope. Like just
No,
No.
never the answer.
listen. Right after this, like I'm gonna talk. Like I'll announce it in a minute. Like right after this, like I'm doing a webinar with Noah on one of our papers. Todd, which we reviewed it really quickly a couple weeks ago in Stormwatch. The resurgent vulns. Like you're getting hit with all this old stuff that you're leaving unpatched still.
Yeah.
I had to tell a lovely reporter person like the last week when the numbers of ASUS routers were going down, and him and Jay confirmed they're still going down. Like there's 12,000 of them out there, and the ranks of being compromised ones are going down, not rapidly, but rapidly enough. They're going down because the government or the attackers are deleting stuff from it. No one's patching anything because you all don't patch. Nobody patches them. And none of those 15,000 orgs or humans that own those routers are using any scoring system. So I don't know what to tell you, but like it's obviously not working for the majority of things that are out there. And so I don't know. If I was back in an org, I don't think I would use anything else but the CVSS string and like the on or off bucket that Todd
And
mentioned.
none of these vulnerability systems will tell you like what's gonna pop next, right? None of them will because there's just too much. There's so much that's
Oh my
not being
gosh.
measured, and it's not whether it's crime. Like it requires a person to do a thing, right? So
Yes. Yeah, I think that the title, because it says exploited, but it's really like, was it likely exploited implies that it was
yeah.
exploited, not to be exploited. Like we're missing some adverbs. I don't know what those words are, but we're missing some descriptors in the titling of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give him a time talk before I do
Right.
that because I
And
don't want to forget.
Talk,
I
talk.
don't want to
talk
forget
about
because
talk about
Kimber will actually hurt me.
all right.
And so ThreatCon 1 security
Yes.
conference,
One.
Bone Check, I think, and Kaharasov. Go Kaharasov, we use them too. Are doing a ThreatCon thing, and you all should do that September 21 to 22 at the Kaharasov headquarters, and we'll talk about this more as the summer progresses. But definitely mark your calendars for that one. It is really important. And Himija, So I gave Mark a shout out in the co-joined Slack that we have because this is great. If you could talk to us about, why are we still talking about TikTok? Why?
Yeah, it's banned.
Why?
It's illegal in the
TikTok, don't
US.
stop.
TikTok is the future. I am not on TikTok. But so this is a really interesting story. For those who are not familiar with ClickFix, it is ClickFix is kind of this like flavor of social engineering campaign where users are served this content that seems like a helpful IT tutorial or something that's like hey, like do this and this will help fix your software issues, for example. But then they're actually things that convince them to download like malicious scripts and malicious info stealer malware and things like that. And so what Trend Micro released a really great report about kind of this new social media, this new variant of this that uses TikTok because everything moves to TikTok. And there are these seemingly AI generated TikTok videos that say things like, here's how to get good at gaming, or like, like here's how to fix your shitty software. And instead it tells people to download I think the two info stealers were Luma Stealer and then one other that I can't recall. But Mark on our end took the IOCs that Trend Micro shared that were kind of serving the malware for this particular TikTok campaign and pivoted on them in census and found 12 new indicators. And I'll just cover a couple of them here. Some of the interesting stuff that we found. We took two of the domains that were listed by Trend Micro, looked them up in historical data, and found that just a few months ago they were actively serving like previous, like older versions of the malicious PowerShell script that was downloading some info stealer stuff. And so that was interesting. And then when you actually looked at the autonomous system that they were hosted in, it was stood up. First of all, it was stood up last September, which is pretty young for an autonomous system. And then it only had one upstream network that had two net blocks in it, so kind of a low reputation small ASN. And it was spun up a couple months later, and it had the description, there are no like know your customer requirements for this ASN, which basically means there's no customer validation, whatever. Which in for most, I think most people can connect the dots and see that that's clearly a bulletproof hosting provider. So basically, Mark uncovered a new bulletproof hosting provider that was used probably specifically for this campaign, since the infrastructure is pretty small. So really interesting to see that and monitor it over the next few months.
Wow. The TikTok is horrible in many, 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 many ways.
Is this because we've kind of lost a whole generation of folks that like I don't know. It's basically fishing. It's fishing through a link. It's tricking someone into clicking or going to a URL that does something that they didn't intend for it to do. It's like a screensaver or the optimize your PC, download this or whatever, clean your registry. Um, so it's back to the old tricks, and is it because we just lost a whole generation because they don't use email as much and they're not like they don't have that skill honed? I don't know.
That's the thing I was thinking about. Is this trying to target a specific generation, maybe younger users who are not technical, but people of all ages use TikTok. And I think that the people scrolling through TikTok instead of an official support forum is just the same, like exactly the kind of person you'd think would download a shady link. So I don't think that the target has changed necessarily. It's just a new medium for the same users.
And while like I appreciate the connection between email and TikTok for like this type of thing, just the other day, there was a target. So the one more advertisement for ad blockers, if you can manage to install them on browsers anymore. You can try to do more than that on your networking system or whatever. But there was I didn't like I was talking to on InfoSec Exchange folks, and the enterprises were getting hit really hard with this recipe finder thing just Monday, because over the weekend there was a campaign, a malvertising campaign on news sites, and letting it download from there, and then basically this thing installs and it gets it was riddled. Enterprises were riddled there. You won't read the story about it, but it was riddled everywhere. So I don't think, like, even if you learn your lesson, you're gonna, like, it's summertime. You want to, like, share. You want to go to parties and share it. Well, I don't, but most people want to go to parties and share stuff with other people. So,
I mean, if this is a coordinated attack to make online recipes shorter, I'm actually game. If it removes
but
all the
but
soft background, I just need the ingredients and the instructions, please. Thanks.
yeah, but so we talked about that. You just got to do the cooked.wiki. You put any any
Any?
cooking's like URL into a I just cook.wiki / append the URL, and it makes a perfect short, no garbage. It's perfect. It's like the perfect recipe site. You can put any recipe into their URL, turns it into something you can use immediately. It's your own little recipe catalog. It's wonderful.
Stay tuned to
Free, and
Stormwatch
it's
for more
free.
life
It's
hacks.
free, and it's
Hashtag
free.
life hacks.
It's also free. I told Himage about it a while ago, I think. I don't know if I remember that or not. So we managed to get through a lot of stuff today, like and we have a little bit of an announcement to make for everybody out there. So I did not have this prepped enough, so I will try to get it up. And actually, I was about to put up National Lampoon's, like, summer vacation thing, but it's way too misogynist. I'm not putting it up.
Oh yeah.
I'm not. I'm not putting that up. I had forgotten about how misogynist that was. We are taking a break. We are going on summer holiday, as we are wont to do. We are very posh like that, and we're all just gonna, like, tag team onto the vacation that the Overwatch is going on. So we're all gonna meet Overwatch in Niagara Falls and stay there for 2 months, and then come back refreshed, rejuvenated, revived. I don't know about you guys. I could use a break. How about you guys?
Yeah. If only it was like a full work break for 2 months, but hey.
I mean, that can be arranged.
Well, just 2 months
Oh
though.
no.
Just 2 months though.
No. I mean, at least 2 months. Yeah, it's more than that. Okay.
I will miss this, but I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're feeling pretty cooked.
Yeah. We got
So if you can't get enough Yamarin, we still got Run Zero Hour.
yeah.
Yes, there are plenty of supplements to this Run
Right.
Zero, which is phenomenal. You will learn a ton
Awesome.
every single. Unlike maybe Stormwatch, where, like, you're entertained, and you do learn stuff, but, like, you learn something every Run Zero Hour, which one thing I appreciate about that.
Our next Run Zero Hour will be with Jerry Gamblin, who does
Jerry
MCPs. Bob, it's going to be an MCP and CVE episode. It'll be great.
He has a very, very good MCP for the CVE API. Very good. I pimped it on the socials. It was great. And so while we may not be doing episodes throughout the summer, I have a feeling like our Sift AI might be doing some Stormwatch episodes throughout the summer.
Just let the AI go. Whee!
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. We might do a couple remixes, maybe as Overwatch just noted on the screen, which no one saw but us, or the people that are watching live, or I guess after the fact. We could do some, like, the best of as well too. But I have some ideas for some Sift potential episodes out there that
Yeah,
may
to be
not
clear,
require a whole lot of work.
we're all still working, just not doing the weekly show for a bit. But if something crazy pops, guess
Oh yeah,
what?
we'll be here. Stormwatch
We're
will
a
be on the
button
job
away from going live. The scene of the corner.
when the government finally closes CISA, we'll be right there to talk about it. When Kev gets abandoned, we'll definitely do that.
This is why we're taking a break, people.
when MITRE decides to tell why they actually did their full trademark of CVE at the Copyright Office, like, skeezily in the dark of night, and then does something skeezy with it after that, we'll be there to tell you why and what that was. It'd be great. I can't wait to tell you about all those cool things that might develop over the summer. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah.
Go for it, Todd.
I got I mean, I can't argue.
Yeah, that's it right there. I knew it. You couldn't argue. All right. Well, that is a wrap on today's Cyberstorm. So remember, when the exploit scoring skies are cloudy and TikTok's malware's raining down, just patch up, keep your digital umbrella handy, and don't let the threat actors drizzle on your parade. Stay dry, stay sharp, and we'll catch you in the next forecast. Have a great summer, everybody.
Hags.